SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Vande Gujarat.
Hello students, what are we going to do today? In this lecture, we're going to talk about the speech sounds of the English language. We're going to try and describe them. It's not necessary in most of the Indian languages to do it because we speak as we write. So if there is a letter, well, the letter is most of the time pronounced the same way. But not so with the English language. A very simple example for you would be PUT and BUT. If you know put, wouldn't you be saying but? If you know but, wouldn't you be saying put? But no. So we have to learn the English speech sounds. And you know that the subject that we talk about is called phonetics. You must have wondered, or you probably already know, why it is called phonetics. You know the word phone. The word phone, as in telephone, refers to sound. Telephone is sound coming from a distance. So you've got phonetics, which is the signs of speech sounds in the English language. All of you know there are 26 letters. There are 21 consonants and 5 vowels. But once we begin to look at the speech sounds of the English language, we realize that there are many, many more than 26. So today, I'm going to take you through the speech sounds of the English language. We're going to try and describe them. So we're going to talk about vowels, and then we're going to talk about diphthongs. For some of you, maybe it's a new word, monophthongs and diphthongs. And then we look at the consonants. So, what are we looking at? 24 consonants instead of 24 consonant sounds instead of the 21 consonants that the English alphabet has. We'll then look at the 12 vowels. In fact, we'll begin by looking at the vowels because you remember when we look at our Varnamara, in any of our languages, it is swar which comes first and then we move on to Pyanchan. So also, we will be looking at the vowel sounds of the English language. We will move on to the diphthongs, which are also called vowel glides. And then we will look at the consonants. Okay? So I hope you enjoy yourself. How do we create sound? This is a picture of the inside of your mouth. Because what you can really see if you stand in front of the mirror and look at your face, look at your mouth in particular, you can see your lips, you can see your teeth, you can see your tongue. But a little bit of more effort, maybe you can do a little more, and you can probably see the top of your mouth, which is the hard palate. But beyond that, you can't see your own mouth, so you will have to look into your friend's mouth to see what are the different parts. Why am I talking to you about this? Because when later on I try to describe the consonant sounds for you, you will have to know what these are. There is a nasal cavity. We'll look at that in more detail when we look at the nasal sounds, which in the English language are 3, m, n, and ng. So these are the organs of speech. Whenever we speak, in fact, any sound that we create, that we make, including speech, the air has to come from our lungs. Remember, we've already breathed in, so there's air in the lungs. And then it has to travel and come out through the mouth and sometimes through the nose. when it comes out, depending on which part of the inside of the mouth is used, we will describe the sound. Sounds a little confusing right now, but it won't at the end of the lecture. So, what are the different parts of the inside of the mouth that you should know? The larynx, the vocal cords, which vibrate or do not vibrate in the production of sound. If they vibrate, they are voiced. If they do not vibrate, they are voiceless. Then the glottis, which gives rise to a sound like h, and maybe the Hindi kh, the Urdu kh. Then, of course, the teeth ridge, the teeth, and then the teeth ridge. And the hard palate. If you would take your tongue to the top of your mouth and touch it, touch what? Touch the top of your mouth with the tip of your tongue, you will feel that it is hard. It's a curved portion of the inside of the mouth. That's the hard palate. You cannot see the soft palate. You cannot feel it as much. Then you have the uvula, and then the tongue and the lips. As I told you, you can see the lips, you can see your nose, you can see the teeth ridge, but the others, you will have to look into the mouth in order to be able to see them. So air can come out, I told you, through your mouth. And if you look at the arrows, it's coming from our throat, through our throat, entering the mouth, and it is coming out through your lips. This is called oral passage. Why is it important? I'm repeating it when I say, because there are some sounds which are nasal. And what happens when we create a nasal sound? The air comes out through the nose or the nasal passage. When you have a cold and there is some problem with your throat, what happens? You have a kind of nasal sound. That means, since the air is not escaping, I hope you get what I'm saying. I have specifically made my voice sound nasal by allowing more air to come out of the nose. So you have the nasal passage and you have the oral passage. This is how air comes out when we speak, either through the nose or through the mouth. So, let's come to the classification of speech sounds. We already know that we have vowels. You might wonder, what is the basic difference between a vowel and a consonant? A student once asked me, how will I know whether it's a vowel or a consonant in a language which I don't know? So, my dear students, here is the answer for you. Vowels are produced, are articulated with no friction. You know the word friction. That means no two things rub against each other. Repeat after me a sound like f, a sound like f, as in fan, as in fun, as in family. If you are saying, look at me as I say it, look at me as I say it. So if you say fan, if you say family, you will notice that you are bringing your upper teeth onto your lower lip. So there is friction between the upper teeth and the lips. But in the production of vowels, there is no friction at all. And that is why when in music there is alap, you will notice that it is the vowel sound that the singer will use, because there is no friction, which means it can go on and on and on, as long as you can hold your breath. But when you use any other consonant sound, there will always be friction. In the classification of speech sounds, we also have to talk about the position of the tongue, the front, the back, or central. We have to talk about the position of the lips, whether it's rounded, unrounded, or neutral. So, this is a vowel diagram. So, there is a front, a central, and a back of your mouth. There is a close, a half open, and an open. So when you are trying to describe a vowel, what you need to do is to have a description like front, half close vowel. Now you get where that would be, a front, half close vowel. You can have a back, half close vowel. What is this front and back? Remember, we are talking about the inside of the mouth. So when you describe a vowel, this is how you will be describing it. That brings me to the question as to why, whether we are talking about vowels or consonants or diphthongs, we need symbols. We need symbols because, as I told you at the beginning of this lecture, in English, there is no one-to-one correspondence between the letter and the sound. Look at the very simple example that I have of the letter C in 3 words: in chair, in cat, in city. So you've got ch, you've got k, and you've got s. And what is the letter that we are using? The letter C. Look at the 2 letters O, twice, O. In book, it's the short U. In school, it is the long U. If you were writing it in any Indian language, my dear student, you would use what we call a chota ika matra and a lamba ika matra, bada ika matra. Or you would probably say rasva and a dirgha. But not in English. We are writing O twice, and it's book and school. You can think of many other, if you're looking at the sound U, the short U. What about a word like could, where you write O-U-L-D? Look at the next example that I have for you. The pronunciation is the long E, or what I would call what we would call in Indian languages, the dirgha E. And what do we have? Meet, E-E. Meet again, but E-A. Peace, I-E. Receive, E-I. Key, E-Y. People, E-O. What happens? When I see the word, I don't know how to pronounce it. If someone pronounces the word, I don't know how to spell it. And that is why it is important in the English language to learn speech sounds. To learn speech sounds, at the same time to describe the speech sounds. So when I say labiodental, you have to know what it means. You have to know where the consonant is being articulated. But I'll come to the consonants later. Let's talk about the International Phonetic Alphabet of the English language. We have to remember that we use universal symbols. What do I mean by that? Think of what is the symbol in arithmetic for division, or multiplication, or addition, or subtraction, or pi, or whatever you want. And remember that all over the world, whatever may be the language, the symbol is the same. So also, with the phonetic alphabet, it is an accepted international, universal symbol that we are talking about. We will be looking at the symbols very shortly. So, in this sound that we are trying to learn of the English language, from 26 letters of the English alphabet, we now move to understanding that there are 24 consonants instead of 21 letters. Instead of 5 vowels, we now have 12 vowel sounds and 8 diphthongs. So 5 vowels, my dear students, actually create 20 vowel sounds, either monophthong, which are the vowels as we know them, a, e, u, o, etc., and diphthongs as in ow, ear, etc. So what do we have now? We've got 24 plus 12 plus 8. Quick maths. And how many is that? That's 44 sounds that we have to learn in the English language. So, to go back to our description of vowels, the part of the tongue that is raised in articulation, which part of the tongue are you raising? Front, central, or back? Think of dividing your tongue into 3 parts: the front of the tongue, the center of the tongue, and the back of the tongue. And if you can, attempt to articulate the vowel sounds in Indian languages to begin with, if you wish, and say a, e, u, you will realize that different parts of the tongue are raised. The second description that we need for a vowel is to whether how much it is raised. So if you have a sound like a, and if you compare it with a sound like I, you will know what I'm talking about. My dear students, just listening to me will not help. You will have to say it with me. So shall we try and articulate some of the vowel sounds? I said let's take an Indian language, Hindi or Gujarati, because the vowels are the same. Most of the Indian languages, most, not all. So can we say a, e? Can you repeat it after me? And can you feel what is happening inside your mouth? Can you now look at the third point, which is the position of lips, and say after me a, and say oo, and just ask yourself what is happening to your lips. Say that again, my dear students. Say a and say oo. You would notice when you say